All right, we're going to go over my Week 11 lineups here on FanDuel and DraftKings. Hope everybody absolutely smashed it. Remember to follow me, you can see, on Twitter at the Radio Mike. True story about that Twitter handle. Somebody had that Twitter handle in England, and I wanted it. And when I thought of the name at the Radio Mike, and I figured nobody has that name. I went on Twitter. I saw it, and I asked the gentleman who had been inactive for a couple of years. I said, "Hey, can I have that?" And he said, "Yes." Go figure. Someone foreign, not in America. That was nice to me. Yeah, I'm taking shots at Americanos. All right, I hope you smashed in Week 11. Hope some of the things that I talked about in the Week 11 preview helped you with using Vegas odds, with playing some obvious. We're going to talk cash games in FanDuel. On DraftKings, I did just a tournament, and I smashed. I had a high score, one of my highest scores of ever. So, again, some of the things that I talked about, I believe in the Vegas odds. I say this all the time. When you put your lineups together, first thing I do is I look at the implied totals. I make a spreadsheet in Excel with the implied totals. I work off that. I tweak them, whether I think the game's going to go maybe a different way. And feel free to comment here. I got my iPad up so I can respond. But I tweak them according to how I think they go. But I usually leave them. And I'll look at the lines during the week, and I'll look to where the percentages is. For instance, last night, 50% of the bettors had it was like 52 to 48% having that game going over 48, which it did. It went 51, 27-24 Rams. So again, for my first step, you got to, again, when you're playing players, you have to ask yourself, why are you playing this guy? Well, I feel like Dalvin Cook is in a pretty implied total, which Minnesota's implied total was 28. They lost, but who cares? You think Minnesota's going to score 28 points, he's probably going to be part of it, I would think. Right? I would think that would happen. So that's something that I like to do right there. And then for cash games, one other thing I do is during the week, I think of guys that I have to play. This was a no freaking brainer. This is a cash game, 100 people. Look I finished 33rd and still cashed. Where was the cash line? Last winning 128 for a score. That's not a bad score. It's not great. But 128, 96 cashed. 128.76 didn't. That sucks. But the Marshot, or whatever, however you spell his name or pronounce it, this was the last winning spot. Now again, let's see, the person who had number one, these guys are putting in their tournament lineups in cash games. All right? Yeah, he won. That's great. You know how I can tell it's a tournament lineup? Because you got to stack. You don't stack in cash games. Herbert, Allen, didn't run this back one. This is a good lineup, though. Harris, Henry. This was almost the winning lineup for the millionaire. Okay, so let me just refresh this. So again, I love the implied totals. Oh, whatever. We'll just keep it to the firsts. Doesn't matter. I love to the implied totals. The guys that I had to play this week, this was easy for me. Hill and Cook were my locks. And I got 46 of my points. And if we do the math, right? 46. %34 of my points came from my two locks. Taysom Hill was listed as a tight end. If anybody, this should have been 100% owned. There's no way in a cash game that you fade him. So, Yeah, okay, 95%. But the 5% of you who did not play, you're out of your mind. You probably did not win. I would think some of the losing lineups did not have Taysom Hill in there. I'm going to go to the last lineup. Yeah, I mean, this is This is a garbage lineup. No offense, but he's a quarterback. He could have thrown for 233 yards and rushed for 51 and had no touchdowns and still that fumble. You'd have gotten 12 points from your tight end, which you're taking. He's my lock. Cook's my lock. Here's how I arrived at my defense. I took the lowest implied total of the week. The lowest implied over-under of the week was this game. That's how I, in cash games, pick my defenses. In tournaments, I go for an under-owned. This was under-owned. I was surprised that Cleveland at home in those conditions against Philly. I mean, Philly's not any good. And you knew they were going to have a lot of picks. They don't have a good offensive line. They can't run the ball. And I went with the lowest implied total, which I think 44. This was over under. It even went under this. I took Cleveland. So that was, for me, this was an easy play. This was an easy play. And Cook was an easy play. Then I went to my quarterback. I wanted someone that is going to throw for 275, 2 touchdowns, maybe some rushing yards. I didn't love what I got from Ben. I played Ben in tournaments on FanDuel. Didn't do well. I should have went with Herbert in tournaments. Did not. But this is what I got from Ben. Cash game, I'll take it. My other running backs, I like to go. Let's see if he did 3. Yeah, he did 3. I'm thinking of maybe not going 3 running backs anymore. I feel like running backs are getting harder to own, to predict. I'm surprised Damian Harris was so low owned. And, in tournaments I could see it. Fading him because I thought he was going to be chalk after the game last week, but 7% in cash games. I felt like, if anything, Harris is probably going to score a touchdown. And he did. And 5,800, we get 12 points. Not great, but I'll take it. The other running back I played was chalk. So even if he didn't do well, it didn't matter. 71% owned Balaj, which I'm surprised he was that more owned than Damian Harris. But I guess you had the Chargers at home against the Jets. And the Jets are the Jets. Right? Do we need to say anything more? Wide receivers is where I have struggled all year to pick. I just struggle. I thought McLaren was a lock because of the targets. I never play him on a good week, but he was chalk. So being chalk means, even though he didn't smash, 64% of the people had him. I thought Marvin Jones would do better being the number 1. I'm surprised he did not score a point against Carolina. And I thought Amari Cooper, I kind of did a stack here because I figured this game would have a lot of points. I don't know why people were shocked that Dallas won. Minnesota is not that good. They have a terrible defense. Andy Dalton's back. I don't think Andy Dalton's a bad quarterback. But I was surprised so many people were shocked that Dallas won this game. I was not. And I thought Cooper for the price. I thought, he didn't score. 6 and 81's not bad. This to me, I want all my cash games. I don't love this lineup, in the end, but it cashed. And this shows you how cash games, what are cash games? Single entry, I say 50-50s, head-to-heads, 5-man leagues, 3-man leagues. I would play, and we'll go to what I do. This is what you do as a beginner. I don't play a lot each week. I'd take this down to $2. Okay? There we go. Single entry. See that? 50-50s. Okay? 50-50s. Yeah, it pays $1.80. Yeah, 20% goes. You put in $1, you get 80 cents. This is for the Thanksgiving games, but it's still the same thing. So, oh boy, it resets quickly. All right, let's go to Sunday main. Okay, single. So I'll play all these. I play the 100 man. You want to play with more players. All right, so I play all these. Just the 100 person. The more people, the better. Play the 100. I can't play the beginner. And then other cash games are some of these. 3-man league, it pays 33%. 3 people, first place gets $270. Play some of those. Head-to-heads, I played a couple this week. I don't love head-to-heads, but here's what I do. All right? The player with the most is probably an experienced player or pro, because if he's got 19 lineups in, he's probably playing more than $19. I'm going to go out on a limb. I play the person with no time. So just, this guy 98 times. So he's playing probably, $100 just in head-to-head. So I go for these ones, the ones that are just playing once. All right? Multipliers, yeah, double-ups. Double-ups don't pay 50%. Double-ups pay, let's see, what does this one pay? 45. 1 through 50. But there's 113, so it's not quite 50%, but that's still a cash game. And then I play the Millionaire Tournament every week. It's just what I do. It's I like to play it. It's tough to win. It's tough to even cash. If I usually cash, just make it, and it's $8-9. Okay. Here are some of my quick notes for Thursday for the Turkey game. All right. Maybe it's because I just watched Deshaun Watson play. But honestly, I can't see any scenario where I come off Watson. And maybe in tournaments you shouldn't do this. Lamar or Roethlisberger. There's a lot of people hurt, by the way, this week. I just don't see any of these. Listen, Alex Smith, Dalton, maybe this game could go 34-31, but I think for the rushing upside you get, and Lamar Jackson's going to be a great play too. He might win the Millionaire this week because, again, here's my feelings about Lamar Jackson. We love these type of quarterbacks, and I don't know if it's from playing Madden, but we fall in love with these guys. I don't love quarterbacks like this because I've watched a lot of games that Lamar Jackson plays in, and Lamar is a run-first guy. And those guys, to me, don't last in this league. Colin Kaepernick is one. And guys like Mahomes and Wilson, they ran a lot early in their career, but they can still sit back there and go to their fourth read. Lamar Jackson can't get out of, I don't think, into a second or third read. And teams know this now. He's not throwing the ball well, but still, look at this. As bad as you think I don't think he's a great reality quarterback. Fantasy-wise, I'll take him. But I don't think this is, I could be wrong about him going forward, but I don't know. The pocket guys to me, like Russell Wilson, look at Russell Wilson. Wilson can run, but he, and even Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson's better than Lamar. But in saying that, this guy, look at this game against Pittsburgh. Not bad, but you're going to get this. He had 1 week where he didn't really run, but all of this, that floor. I just think, for me, if you're playing tournaments on Thanksgiving, I cannot get off these two guys, but this is the guy for me. And I think it's a no-brainer. Look at this. He's quietly, we don't talk a lot about this guy. Look at this. A lot of interceptions here early. In Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, good teams. Threw 2 against Jacksonville. But, this guy's putting up, and I just, this is in a dome at Detroit. Detroit's terrible. And for me, I cannot, I think this is a lock in cash games and tournaments. an absolute lock. And I would maybe even avoid Fuller, because I think if you want to try to get some of these guys in here, you can go with Cooks. But if Cobb is out, we get some value. Kenny Stills is out. This guy caught a touchdown last week. 4,500. Yeah, Cobb is already going to be ruled out. I think that's great value. You run this back with, if Galladay is out, what's his status? He's not going to play, maybe. Either go with Jones or Hall. Oh, Hall's questionable. Jeez. But say he's not. Look at that. That's not a bad stack. And then you can get a Zeke in. You know, maybe get McLaren in. Defense. Let's say we went with Dallas. Oh, you don't want to go with. I don't want to go with Dallas with. You know, sometimes in these 3 games you got to get a little funky. Maybe Baltimore, Pittsburgh perhaps. And look at that. That's with getting Watson. You know, Elliott. I think you got to play some of the stuff. Like you got to. For me, you got to get these 2 in here. And then receivers, you know, they're just so volatile. This is either you fade Baltimore or you fade Pittsburgh in this. You know, maybe Connor has, you know. So there's a lot you can do. But I just think if you're playing Thursday, that you got to start your lineup with him. Absolutely, you know, absolutely. All right, was my, you know, one little tip I got that I heard. I think it's good. Sometimes the people you don't hear get talked about, play them. You know, this Indianapolis had an implied total of 28. I think it was 28-26, the implied total. Green Bay losing. So I thought to myself, why isn't anyone on Phillip Rivers? Look at this price. 5,600. Look what this guy does every week. It's not, I mean, you know, but this is against Green Bay. And here's where you put the answers to some of the questions you have. If you think Green Bay is going to score, then Indianapolis probably will too. So I went Rivers, Pittman, low-owned stack, 4,500. Ran it back with Adams, 10%. These killed me. I mean, I scored 181 points and had these 2 clowns in my lineup. I don't know why I had these 2. I wanted a piece of that Pittsburgh game. Deontay Johnson is a stud. I knew Mark Andrews would have a good one. Keenan Allen I put in my flex. And I had the Browns defense. 5 fires, 2 snowflakes, and 2 blahs. I don't know why Pittman didn't have... Whoops. I don't know why Pittman didn't have the... Yeah, we'll get out of that. I don't know why. All right. Hope you smash it in Week 12 and just continue to dominate. Thanks for watching and have a good night.